Today, we're digging into a hidden character in the Gospels, one you might have never really thought about, the land itself.
I mean, think about it for a second. When you picture the world of Jesus and his disciples, what comes to mind? Probably dusty roads, little villages, maybe a big desert. For a lot of us, the landscape is just, well, it's just the background.
But what if that's not the whole story? What if the land itself, the ground they walked on, the hills they saw every day, was actually an active character, shaping everything that happened?
So let's explore that. Let's see how the very specific geography of Galilee didn't just witness the story of Jesus' ministry, but actually played a huge role in it.
Our story kicks off in Galilee, which honestly seems like a pretty surprising place for anything world-changing to begin. But here's the thing, hundreds of years earlier, the prophet Isaiah pointed right to this spot. He called it Galilee of the Gentiles, which means Galilee of the nations, and he said that this land of darkness would see a great light. So what made it so dark, and why was it so full of other nations? Well, its history was a total whirlwind. For centuries, Galilee was basically caught in a tug of war between empires. You had the Assyrians bringing in foreign people, then Alexander the Great brought Greek culture, that's Hellenism, spreading their language and ideas everywhere. Then it became a constant battlefield between kingdoms in Egypt and Syria. And finally, Rome just rolled in and conquered it all. So this was no quiet backwater. It was a cultural and political pressure cooker, a real crossroads of the ancient world. And it's into this incredibly complex world that Jesus is born, in a tiny town called Nazareth. Now, by all accounts, Nazareth was small and, frankly, insignificant. It was kind of tucked away in a small dip in the hills, a place you could easily miss. And yet, here's the twist. If you just walked up to the ridge right above the village, you had this unbelievable panoramic view. You could see the entire Jezreel Valley, the great stage for so many battles and stories from Israel's history.
You have to see that Jesus' childhood neighborhood was basically a unique classroom. On one side, he had this constant visual reminder of his people's past laid out before him. On the other side, just over the hill, was Sepphoris, the modern bustling Roman capital of Galilee. That's likely where he would have seen a theater and encountered the Greek idea of actors, or hypocrites. And get this, the prophet Jonah, his hometown was just a short walk away. So you've got history, empire, and prophecy literally all around him.
But when his public ministry begins, Jesus makes a really deliberate move. He leaves his quiet hometown and sets up a new headquarters in the busy town of Capernaum, right on the Sea of Galilee. And this wasn't some random choice. No, Capernaum was a brilliant strategic hub. It was the center of a massive fishing industry, a processing hub for olive oil. It was sitting right on a major international highway with travelers coming from all over, and it was a border town with a tax office. In other words, if you wanted your message to spread, this was the place to be. And of course, Jesus used this new environment in his teaching. In an industrial town like Capernaum, a common sight would have been a millstone, this huge, crushingly heavy stone used to press olives. Everybody there would have understood its immense, inescapable weight. So when Jesus wanted to make a point with his visceral, unforgettable power, what does he use? That exact image. He took an object from their daily work and turned it into a profound spiritual lesson. It's a fantastic example of how he used the local geography and industry to make his teachings really hit home. Okay, let's zoom in on the most dominant feature of the whole region, the Sea of Galilee itself. And for the ancient mind, this sea had a total split personality. On the one hand, it was an engine of commerce. It was the source of a booming fishing industry that supported the entire region. But on the other hand, big bodies of water symbolized chaos. And the Sea of Galilee's unique geography, being a low basin surrounded by hills that act like wind funnels, meant that these violent, terrifying storms could erupt with almost no warning. So when we read those stories about Jesus calming the storm or walking on the water, it's about so much more than just a weather miracle. For his audience, this was a powerful declaration. He was showing that he had mastery over the very forces of chaos that they feared the most. All right, for our final location, Jesus takes his disciples on a retreat way up north to a place called Caesarea Philippi, right at the foot of Mount Hermon. And this place, it was the polar opposite of their Jewish world. It was a landscape that was just screaming with pagan power. I mean, you had niches carved right into the rock face to hold statues of Greek gods like Pan and Zeus. and dominating the entire scene was a huge, brilliant white temple built to worship a man, the Roman emperor. It is right here, in the shadow of a temple to a man-god, surrounded by stone idols, that Jesus deliberately asks the most important question of his entire ministry: who do you say I am? The location makes that question incredibly stark. And Peter's answer is just electric in this context. He declares that Jesus is the Son of the living God. That word living is a direct and powerful contrast to every dead stone god and every deified emperor being honored in that place. So the whole point is this: the geography of Galilee was never just a setting. From that historical viewpoint in Nazareth to the strategic hub of Capernaum and all the way to the theological battlefield of Caesarea Philippi, the land itself was the stage that gave every moment its deep, resonant meaning.
And that leaves us with a final thought. How does understanding the where of a story fundamentally change your grasp of the what and the why? Because as it turns out, the landscape is never, ever just a backdrop.